Okay. Oh God, chill out, bro. What are you doing? Water bottles, man. They're crazy. Can you hear me? Let's make sure y'all can hear me. And then we're gonna go ahead and let the squadron know that we're already live for this book stream. Pause for like 2 seconds. Okay. Okay. Returned. We returned and we are checking to make sure that the audio is popping. Search. How are we doing? How are we doing on the audio?
How are we doing? How are we doing?
We got
On
there.
the audio. How are we doing?
We
How are
chilling.
we doing?
Yep. Yeah. Don't like that. Don't like that sound at all. Woo! That's cool. And then we're just going to pop into Instagram really quickly. Let the rest of the squadron know. Oh, hey, we've got friends here. Just taking 2 seconds really quick to post on Instagram that we started. We're joined here today for the stream. Oh God, we're gonna throw a filter on. It's. Am I the only one who actually small kind likes the Bratz filter on Instagram? Because I kind of like that filter. Salutations and good morning, friends. I am here live. We are streaming right now about Once More Upon a Time. Let's go. Doing it. Doing it. Doing it. Doing it. Doing it. Okay. Forgot my tablet. 2 seconds. Don't laugh at me. Rude. Okay. Lighting. My biggest enemy. I have a ring light coming in today, and I'm so excited about it. So that way we can have even lighting. It's going to be phenomenal. I swear. I'm excited. I'm excited. Okay. This book. It's a short one. It's quite a short story, honestly. It was only I listened to it on Audible because it's an Audible original. It's exclusive to Audible. This is Once More Upon a Time by what's the author name again? I've said this name so many times. I've seen this name so many times. Let me go to my notes. Let me go to my notes. Roshani Chokshi is the author. Again, Audible original. I should take notes of what format I'm reading books in. I'm taking so many. I watched Plant-Based Bride do a video on like reading stats and a bunch of things, and now I have this whole setup in my tablet on just reading stats of the book. God damn it, Chestnut. That was my child. Just caused a damn earthquake in this stream. You monster. You're lucky you cute. I see you can hear me. You're lucky you're cute. What was I even talking about? So it was short book on Audible, only about 4.5 hours long, which just felt short to me. I don't know what the length of a lot of my Audible books are, but in my head, they're like 10 hours long. Let's take a second to peek at my library. Oh God, it's 3 hours and 26 minutes. That book is. Yeah, so it's definitely a short one for my books. Like the Ables, I also did as an audiobook. That was a 14-hour experience. But there are also some that are in that shorter range. The Great Gatsby's only 4 hours, closer to 5, really. So, yeah, it is a decently short book. Like Septimus Heap books are about 12 hours long. Just throwing out some comparisons there for you guys. But it's very short. It is a romantic fantasy. And like I say in the description, like, it's funny that I just put out a video on Instagram about it was an anti-TBR, and on it I said the genre that I'm just not interested in is romance. And what's the book that I end up reading? Romance. But based on the description, no. God, this child is testing me today. Ugh. But I thought it would be just fucked up the camera more of I thought there would be more story beyond the romance. And Chestnut, no. Stop it. God. I'm sorry. But god damn it. And the lighting too. We're having a great day, guys. We're just gonna leave these closed. We're just gonna leave it closed. We just might get very dark. But I thought there would be more to the story beyond just the romance aspects of it. And it was very clear. It became very clear that the author really, truly had no interest in the story elements of the book outside of the romance, or the world building outside of the romance, which kind of stuck. We'll talk about it more, but it kind of did stick. I felt a little stuck when I was doing the review for the book. But let's go ahead and talk about the story and what happens. So we have like a long series of events happens. That's like, it's probably 5 or 10 minutes. The first 5 or 10 minutes of the book are a bunch of things that happen that lead to the beginning of the story, but none of them are really relevant. It's like these things happened that led to these marriages, and then these marriages led to these two people meeting, and they got married. And those two people are Imelda and what's his face? Ambrose. Prince and princess meet, get married, and they are gifted the kingdom of Love's Keep. And the shtick of this kingdom is that the kingdom gets bountiful harvest, and they have this tree that grows magical fruit, but only if the king and queen are in love. So they're gifted this kingdom. They are married for 1 day and 1 night before Imelda ends up accidentally eating a poisoned tomato. And a witch comes by and says she can keep Imelda alive. She can bring her to life, back to life, but only if they're willing to give up their love. And so Ambrose is like, of course, I need her alive more than anything. So they give up their love for Imelda to be alive. They have a year and a day to prove that they are worthy of this kingdom. A year and a day passes, and they are on their way out of the kingdom when that same witch comes by and is like, hey, I've got a job for you. If I need you guys to bring me this stone potion, this potion that turns people to stone from this specific kingdom. There's a wedding there, and I was not invited, but all kings and queens everywhere are granted like passage to these two weddings. So I need you two to go. And if you do this, I will give you anything your heart desires. Ambrose wants a kingdom. He wants power because Love's Keep is the only place in his life that he ever felt like he really belonged. Imelda wants freedom. Her dad is... God, they keep saying, like, I know he loves me. I know he loves me. Her dad's overly controlling and borderline abusive. like she has like 11 other sisters. They're the 12 dancing princesses, and he has enchanted all of their shoes so that he is essentially able to control them no matter what. If he feels like they are standing in front of the mirror for too long, he can like use these enchanted shoes to move them. If he feels like they're going too slow to a class that they need to take, he can use these enchanted shoes to make them go faster. He can use these enchanted shoes to prevent them from leaving the house without his like permission. That's a toxic relationship. That is a very toxic family. She don't need that. She doesn't want that anymore. So she like, and it's a whole plot line that she hates shoes because of this. She feels like shoes are shackles, which I understand. I get that. I can see that. So she doesn't like to wear shoes. She has a lot of shoes because she likes to collect them, but she does not like to wear them. So Melda wants freedom. Ambrose wants power and his own kingdom, because he and his brothers used to be like best friends, tight, and growing up they always thought that the kingdom would just go to the oldest brother. Then their dad decided, hey, I'm just gonna give it to whatever son's the most worthy, and immediately his younger brother tried to kill him, which I'm not gonna lie, that doesn't make sense to me. I feel like from this brother was already a psychopath. Let's be honest, he was already not okay. He was already like, murder was already an option in his mind. But I feel like that really should have been the path he took when the crown was going to just whatever brother was oldest, as opposed to whatever brother is most worthy. Because I feel like murder isn't like a quality that makes one worthy, you know? You get me. But it was like that, and like that betrayal made him very distant from people, and now he wants just like his own place to like know that he belongs. He just wants his own place to know that he belongs there. So they go off on this quest, and like realistic, like for the most part, like nothing. It's pretty much just a romance at that point. They're starting to fall in love. They have like their backs and forths. They learn so much more about each other that they never knew, because during this year and a day, they essentially never saw each other. And so now that they're spending this time together, they're starting to fall back in love. And then you have the third act misunderstanding, which was like, it was so stupid. For one. For two, it was with like 10 minutes left in the book, so I knew it was not going to amount to anything. But the misunderstanding was they had just slept together, and he essentially wanted to find a way to ask her to spend the rest of her life with him but like the only way he could do it was buying a gift. He buys the gift, and as he's on his way back to the hotel that they're in, concierge is like, oh, there's a witch waiting for you. So he drops the present off, tells his horse cape, which we'll get back to. He tells his horse cape to watch because that's a gift for her. And goes down, talks to the witch, tells the witch, I want to give up the separate kingdom and the separate path you have for me. I want to spend my life with Imelda. Witch is like, oh, but did you ask her what she wanted? Which really should have been like top of his priority list, but okay. Like, this woman's biggest issue is that she hates being controlled, and she feels controlled with her family. She doesn't want him to control her. And he has immediately decided, I don't need to ask her. She's totally fine with like being married to me, living in Love's Keep with me. That's all she wants. I don't need to ask her about it. So that was like red flag number one. Number two is, so while he's downstairs, Imelda wakes up, sees the present, opens the present. It's a pair of shoes. Wow. Love it. So she sees the shoes and immediately decides, nope, I can never be with him. Why would he get me this if he cared about me? He knows how I feel about shoes. So he comes back up to ask her if she wants to like go back to Love's Keep with him. She says no. He's leaving town, And the horse cape is like, oh, maybe she just wanted a different pair of shoes. She didn't like the shoes you gave her. And Ambrose just pauses. The edge of town's like, should I go back or not? Maybe this is just truly how she feels, but maybe she misunderstood the gift. Turns out the gift of the shoes was a pair of shoes that could fly, and literally throughout this entire book, she's always saying, like, the only pair of shoes I ever want to wear is one that can make me fly instead of hold me down. And so obviously the pair of shoes she got are shoes that can make her fly. And so last minute she stops him. They go off and be together. It's a whole thing. But yeah, that felt so that like third act conflict felt so manufactured that just it felt like something the author thought needed to happen in order, because that's what happens in books. There is a conflict towards the end. So that's what happens in romance. There's conflict towards the end. And this is honestly kind of similar to how I felt about American Pie Girls Rules. It felt like that's an issue that was brought in because the author or the writer, author, whatever, is like, we're getting towards the end, but we need one more conflict for that third act, that last suspense, will they get together moment. We are all, as a society, as a world, as a planet, Earth, we're beyond that. We are all pretty sure that they're going to get together at this point. It's fine. We don't need that. It's fine. But oh God. So that was something that left like a really rough taste in my mouth. Just, it felt so inappropriate. These actions felt so inappropriate for the characters. And there's just a point where so many these types of issues, specifically the third act conflict, the third act misunderstanding, are things that normal humans don't really have problems with because we talk to each other. Actually, no, the reference that I want to make here is the KFC Hallmark special. Was it Hallmark? I think it was the Hallmark special. No? Lifetime. It was the KFC Lifetime special. People are like, oh my God, it was only like 15 minutes because no one put effort into it. No, it was 15 minutes because those people actually fucking talked to each other when it made sense to talk to each other, so you don't have 40 minutes of bullshit no one needs. That's it's so frustrating. Obviously, this has become a hot button point for me. The third act conflicts are the rough thing for me. Another issue that when I was talking earlier and I was saying it really felt like this author did not really care about world building, did not really care about the story beyond the scope of the romance. There's a scene where they're meeting up with the witch that has the potion that turns people to stone. And it turns out that witch is Imelda's aunt. And those two go off, Imelda and her aunt go off to talk under the impression that she's going to stay in the kingdom. Ambrose is like, she's staying here, I have to go. She never wants to be with me. And he's just wandering on the castle moping. And all of a sudden, Imelda runs up. She's like, I got the potion! And they leave. I felt like I would have much rather seen anything Imelda was doing than see Ambrose moping around with his horse cloak. It would have, even for the sheer fact, even for the romance, I would have much rather had the conflict of Imelda's with her aunt, who is trying to convince her that this man is going to be nothing but a burden to her. This man is going to do nothing but hold her back in life. I would have much rather seen Imelda deal with that conflict in that moment and surpass that, go beyond that in order to deceive the queen, get the potion that they need, and leave, because that's more relevant to the overall story while also giving us those romance elements. But no, I just see Ambrose moping around like a goddamn teenager, and that felt so underserving. I felt so gypped as a reader because I felt like I was just not being given the aspect of the story that's relevant to the actual quest that they're on. And that told me that this author, and it did show me the author really doesn't care about the quest that they're on. An example of the author really doesn't care about the world building was that this horse cloak thing. So Ambrose's brother at the beginning gives him a cloak that I presume is made out of horse hair. I presume, and it is speaking to him. It speaks to him. It can move. Like the abilities of this cloak are, for one, are just very confusing. For two, I don't know who all can hear this horse cloak, because there's also at the beginning the witch has a flamingo purse, and the flamingo purse and the horse cloak talk to each other. But later on, Ambrose and Imelda are like, that witch must be crazy. She thinks she has a flamingo purse. So I don't understand. I don't understand if talking clothes is normal in this world. Like, they act like it's normal with the way that they kind of just ignore the cloak. They act like it's normal, but it's also not normal for the witch to have a bag that's made of an animal that can talk. It's so confusing that even at the end of this story, I don't understand the standing of this aspect that turns out to be a very important feature of this book. Like, he is like a major cause for this whole third act confusion. He does have a hand in that, because he's the one who tells Imelda, oh my god, there's a present over here for you. And therefore she doesn't wait until Ambrose gets there so he can present it to her, stuff like that. I wish I could have had any real understanding of where that exists in this world, because right now it just seems so confused. Also, I would like to note, I could not put into words what exactly was that bothered me about this book. The understanding that it was the lack of world building and the lack of attention to the quest that they have was actually something I saw when I was looking through other Goodreads reviews of it. Just throw that out there. Also, side note. Well, not a side note. Another issue I had was at the very beginning of the book. I remember the witch telling them, I can let you guys stay at Love's Keep. And they say, no, that's impossible. We're not in love. We can't be in love anymore. And she says, well, who took that away from you? I did. And what once was taken can always be returned. And then they go on the quest for the rest of the quest, acting like it would be impossible for them to return to Love's Keep because the witch took away their love. Even though at the beginning, she said, I can return you to Love's Keep. I can, the love can be brought back if it's nurtured and given the right, go giddy up. So I don't understand why throughout the whole thing they're like, oh, we could never be together. The witch's love, the witch took our love. We could never be together in Love's Keep. That's not an option, even though she literally said at the beginning that was an option. That's another aspect of the tension in this book feeling so manufactured that it doesn't make sense. Okay. We're getting close to the end, so let's end actually on two things that I really thought were really well done in the book. One, I really appreciate how it was done, where the author would show these two arguing about habits that each other has, and then we are shown that this is actually essentially something that they developed because of the traumas of their past. Then it still takes a while before that information actually gets to everyone in the party. So so we see Ambrose like nipping at her for not wearing shoes a lot. And then we learn about the stuff Imelda's father would do. And it's not until a lot later in the book that she actually gets around to telling him, because realistically, that's not something she would have told him right off the bat. Although, granted, there's like this whole thing of Imelda and Ambrose also just not wanting to. Ambrose more, it makes sense because he doesn't want to get close to people for fear that he will lose them or they will turn on him. And the experience of having to give up his love for Imelda's life is probably not helping that. But Imelda has this whole feeling of she doesn't want Ambrose to tie her down, to chain her, to hold her back. And she's sure that if she falls in love with him, that's only bad things will happen. But they were in love before the love was taken away. And no one thinks about that. No one thinks about the fact that these things that somehow they proved to each other that they were beyond these fears prior to the love being taken away. Again, Ambrose's makes sense. Imelda's not really. The other thing that they do really well is there's a scene after they're trying to escape the witch that they stole the potions from, the potions that turn people to stone. That it's the witch is Imelda's aunt, and she says that the potions only last an hour or so on people in her bloodline. They're trying to escape, and so Imelda thinks, I will take the potion, and it should wear off in an hour or so. We'll say that that my aunt's shipping this statue out, needs to go right away. So she takes the potion, turns to stone, and they're able to escape, but it's taking way longer. And it's been hours, and she's not yet unstone. And Ambrose is starting to panic, and he's starting to just get really sad because he just loved the time that he spent with her. And there are, of course, a bunch of things that he never got to tell her. And so after the scene of him talking to the statue and trying to tell Imelda as a statue all the things that he wished he had told her before, that scene was actually very heartbreaking. It got me. I felt for the guy. I felt really bad for the guy. He was starting to fall in love, starting to let himself fall in love. It was very sweet to see. So actually, I know I've been like screaming about this book for like 20 minutes straight, but it wasn't bad. I would still give it like 3 out of 5 stars. And this is, like I was saying again, this is where I was really held up on the review. I gave it 3 out of 5 stars because for me, I feel like the aspects of world building and the aspects of the quest were just so skipped over. And then, of course, you had these things that felt so manufactured that it just didn't work for me. I personally would not read it. But at the same time, I understand how someone just might not be as interested in reading like 200 pages of like a world, 100 pages of like a battle sequence and planning out a quest and stuff like that. I understand how someone just might not be interested in that. So, but my review is more based on on A, how I feel, a mix of A, how I feel, and B, like, would I be ashamed to tell someone else, hey, like, would I feel ashamed or feel any certain way if someone asked me if they would be interested in it? Because there are some books that I would never in my life have the audacity to tell someone to read, to allow them to read, to allow them to go into the book unknowing of what is coming ahead of them. But there's some books where it's just not the right fit for me, and I understand that, but I also should like respect for myself, respect the fact that I just wasn't a fan. There were things that I really didn't like in the book, and that's why I would give it a 3-star instead of anything higher than that. But I do, like, I can't imagine someone else actually really enjoying the book. It is like this, the characters are very interesting, fun to be around. The romance is something I kind of care about. I do. It is an interesting aspect. I wish we got more of the aspect of Love's Keep in it and seeing that whole, like seeing things struggling to grow or just dying even more. I really would have loved to see more of that. But the idea was interesting. But there were just the things that I personally would be more interested in a book were just not touched on in this at all. So yeah, that's it for me. Next book that I'm gonna read, I already know what the book is, and I already know that I'm gonna have it done by next week. So we will be streaming next week. I'm going to be reading The Wave by Lord knows what his name is, Todd Strasser. The Wave by Todd Strasser. Yeah, did it. The Wave by Todd Strasser. That is the next book that I am going to be reading. Can't wait to see you guys next week for that stream. But until next time, valedictions, friends. Ba-da-da.